Cool. I think that means we're gonna get started here. Cool guys, I'm gonna jump right in. I'm Joe. Thanks for coming, everybody. This is we do this training every week. It started out as doing it for our real estate team, and then we just decided one day to kind of open it up. There's weeks that go by where we do like private trainings for our team. It's not private, like we don't want you guys to be there. It's like usually like we're starting a new CRM, or we're like strategizing, or I don't know, where everyone's just telling me what we need to fix, So we wanted to open it back up, and then over the course of just until whenever, we have a really cool, Lauren, it'd be a good idea to like share our upcoming training schedule at the end of this thing so people can see. So our goal is kind of like next week we have Jeff Gray. Jeff Gray did 50 million last year. He specializes in farming. He's gonna go over farming. We've got Sekou Pyle coming up, Brett Sikora. We've got luxury agents from Los Angeles. This is all over the next like 8 weeks. So my goal is to bring tons of value to you guys, and also just like keep us connected. A lot of us here are with EXP, and this is how we stay connected, right? We stay connected through these Zoom meetings. By the way, so I'm going to go through this slide deck today. We're going to go over, one last thing. We just believe that everyone, it's just fun working together. Doing this job alone sucks. And it's fun to, no one succeeds alone, man. I don't care what anybody says. So like, we just do this thing together, and this is what it like. So I'm going to cruise through this thing. It probably be about a half hour, and then 45 minutes, and I'm going to open it up to questions. Couple questions that I usually get. People ask if they can have a copy of this slideshow. 100%. You guys can just have it or whatever. What we're going to do today, this is like EXP. I teach this in EXP University, and it's they call it, the title is Understanding the Home Buying Process. And sometimes it gets a little confusing. What we're going to do today is I'm going to go through our buyer consultation, right? So what we understand is, or what we know is this is if you can sit a buyer down for 20 minutes and just walk them through the process and manage their expectations, you have like a 100% chance of them working with you, right? And so like on our team, we have a lot of different lead gen sources. So I'm just gonna say Zillow, right? Like Zillow, we got, almost every day you'll get a call, or wherever, let's just say the internet, right? So like if someone calls in, we'll ask them if they're working with a realtor, and they're like, yeah, well, I saw a realtor once. Yeah, well, did he show you a house? Well, yeah, but okay. Well, my sisters are like, what you want to do is you want to get into relationship with these folks. And the way that we get into a relationship with them is by communicating with them and providing value, right? Like you want to, there's 6, I'm going to talk about numbers. I mean, we're in Orange County, California, and we're in New Jersey. And so there's 6,000 licensees in Monmouth County, New Jersey. There's 35,000 in Orange County. You go to Phoenix, Arizona, that's another big one. It's like, I think when you when you get your like driver's license in Arizona, they give you a real estate license as well. There's like 60,000 licensees in the Phoenix, like greater Phoenix area. So like, and I use a script all the time. I'll tell people like, you guys ever hear this one? They're like, yeah, my sister's a realtor, or, oh yeah, my buddy's a realtor. I'll just say straight out, man, I'm like calling people out. I'm like, oh, cool. A lot of people have passed the real estate exam. Not a lot of people are crushing real estate and selling, whatever, selling 100 houses a year. Do you want to work with someone that has a plan? And that's kind of it, man. Now I'm gonna go exactly through the deck that we take our buyers through. So initially when we speak to someone, we will say to them, we'll ask them like, hey, are you currently working with a realtor? And we'll say, hey, we want, especially the market that we're in, if someone calls in, somebody answer this question, right? If someone calls in off the internet to go see a house, is that house most likely available? Yes or no?
No.
Probably not.
No, why?
Things are
Too
selling.
late.
They're gone, right? Yeah, so you're just like, you're getting behind the market, right? Like you're reacting. And what people have to, let me turn that ringer off. people got to understand, man, you can't, that's a reactive search. That's a reactive home search. People have to understand that they need to be working with a specialist that's constantly combing the market, looking for houses that are off market, houses that are coming soon, FSBOs. Like, I could show you a list on our team. We could show you a list of 200 houses that were off market, that were, that were for sale, and then maybe weren't for whatever reason. They were expired, they were FSBO, they're going to sell next year. So you have to align yourself with someone. And this is kind of the process that we go through. So when we meet someone, we ask them, and a lot of times, by the way, this is a question I get often, is like, well, what if they just, if you're in this fast-paced real estate market, when someone calls us to go see a property, we just go meet them. Like, we just go meet them. Like, we don't ask them if they're working with a realtor. We don't ask them if they're pre-approved. We just go and meet them, because that's all they want, man. They just want to go and see that house. And when we're at the house, the questions that I'm going to go through, the conversations I'm going to take you guys through today are the conversations that we want to have when we're meeting those folks, right? So cool. This is our agenda for today. About the instructor, course overview, summary. We're not going to do a survey. I'm not going to give anything away, just so you know. About me, I am based in Asbury Park. Our real estate team is based in Asbury Park, New Jersey. That's where our hub is. We also sell houses in Orange County, California. I've been in real estate for 13 years. I've been with EXP for 2 years. I've been an Icon agent for both years. EXP wrote this. I'm really good at like, what are you good at? They're really good at building a business. So I believe in building a business around real estate, right? Like, if there's realtors and there's people that own businesses, right? So like, I look at this thing as like running a business, right? Like, I haven't taken a buyer on in a very long time. I haven't written, like, if you ask me to write a contract on a house, I'm gonna get weird because I can't do it. I'm gonna call somebody else in my organization to please do it. And it says they think that I'm good at building teams, right? Anything that I've done really well, I've done it really poorly first, just so you know. I've screwed it up first, for sure. I love surfing. I have a 5-year-old son, and I've got another child on the way. I have another little boy. So a little bit about the Joe Oz Real Estate Group, right? This is our mission. Our mission is the Joe Oz Real Estate Group is committed to helping our clients achieve their goals while helping our team members achieve theirs. Our vision is to become the real estate team where members and clients are treated as family. We will be perceived as an exclusive club in which clients and members will feel they're a part of something special. And our values are high standards, teamwork, and resilience. Cool. So I'm just gonna go right into the deck, right? So when we sit down, and by the way, guys, what I just said was sometimes the first time you're meeting someone is like at the house, right? Or you might set someone up to go see 3 or 4 houses. You should be taking them through this consultation while you're with them. When they leave you for the first time, what you would love to do is just grab a cup of coffee, right? People say like, Joe, how are they gonna sit down with you? They're not gonna sit down with you. Yeah, they are. People are really frustrated. And if you just ask them like, hey, are you frustrated? Ask them like open-ended questions like, hey, what's your current situation? And what's your experience been like so far? And most people in this market are like, wow, I can't find anything. Dude, you hear it all, man. My realtor's on vacation. I need to go see this house. There's multiple offers. I lost this one. Cool. Do you want to keep running around like that, or do you want to sit down and make a plan? Because I can definitely help. And they sit, and this is what we talked to them about, right? So, and again, if you're out showing houses, I would take them through all of these conversations. So first we talk about home shopping. So of course it's going to be specific to what market you're in, but we let people know. I say, hey, listen, just so you guys know, the average home buyer is looking at 5 houses before they find the right one. The most important key is to finding the right home quickly. The most important key to finding the right home quickly is your feedback. Does that seem like high or low to you guys, 5 houses?
Kind of low right now.
Low for now.
Yeah, low, right? Now what happens now is it's all gonna be dependent on your market, but also, back in the day, people used to the first time they ever saw a house was when a realtor showed it to them, or the MLS. Now people are seeing the first showing is online. The second showing really is they're doing drive-bys. And then the third time they're looking at a house. And that's the thing. That's why a lot of people are losing houses, because that's the way consumers are looking for houses, right? They look online. It's voyeurism, right? They look, they check things out. They do a drive-by. They like the neighborhood. It's not that the consumer won't talk to you. they just don't, it's just that they're not ready, right? So when they become ready, they only want to call you when they are ready to go. And the only thing they need you for is to really just open up the door and write the offer. Like, we got a call on Monday. It was like, hey man, we just saw this house at an open house. Can you help us write up an offer? Like, they just called us off of Zillow, right? That's kind of the way things are going. But the average consumer is looking at about 5 houses before they start writing, right? Or before they find the right one. And then we go in and we talk about the current housing market. I'll ask the buyer, remember, man, we seek to understand rather than to be understood. So we just ask questions, man, like, hey, what do you know about today's market? And they get crazy. They're like, it's nuts, it's wild, we can't find anything. And then just kind of talk to them about it, right? Like, this is your opportunity. You ever have like a first-time home buyer in this market go see a house and the house is listed at $500,000 and they're like, you think we can offer like 450? And then your head wants to explode, right? This is your chance to manage expectations, right? This is your chance to be like, hey guys, and you have to know your numbers. You got to know your language of real estate, right? In our organization, call it LORE, LORE, language of real estate. What that looks like is this, is I'll say like, you know what? In this year alone, on the houses that we're listing, our average days on market before we receive an offer about 3 days. We keep houses active for 6 days. We list on Tuesdays. We keep it, it's like a store opening and closing. We list on Tuesdays. We cut it off after the open house on Sundays. And we're having an average of about 75 people through private showings plus open houses. And our houses that we're selling on average are selling between 5% and 8% over asking price. That's what's going in the market. Now, if you say that to someone up front, and then maybe you show them a couple houses that you just sold and where they, like, what they were listed at and where they landed at, do you think, like, when it comes time to write an offer, their expectations will be where they need to be?
Yeah, it's super helpful to show them actual properties that are like from last month or that just closed, that was like listed at 450, sold at 535. And they're like, their eyes go wide, and you want their eyes to go wide then, instead of after you run them around for a weekend at 530 and they can't afford 445.
Thanks, Gil. That's great. Yeah, because what happens is you guys gotta, like, and I'm talking to my team right now. I'm talking to all you guys. You guys gotta close. You gotta convert, right? You're gonna kill yourselves. Like Catherine, when we got on this, Catherine's like, I'm showing today. I'm showing tomorrow. You have to get their expectations mannered so you can, like, not get frustrated, not kill yourself, not jump off a bridge, spend time with your family. Does that make sense? I'm not saying like close like boiler room, like, but you have to be able, when, like, communicate with them, understand what they're looking for. This is where your job comes in, and you're doing them a favor, right? Like, their life is going to be so much better. Like, anything that I buy or purchase, like, I do this to my friends all the time. I'm like, dude, just tell me what to buy. I don't want to, you know about these things? Just tell me. Like, I just bought some of those speakers for the house. I'm like, dude, just what do I buy? Which ones? He's like, Joe, why don't you do some research? I don't want to do some research. Just tell me what to get. I'll buy it all and I'll set it up. And, like, that's it, man. Like, just tell them what to do. This is what they want. You are a consultant. Now, this last thing says salesperson versus consultant. You should not come off as a salesperson, right? There's a script that I've used forever. I recommend using it. And it just is this, like, hey, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to help you through a process. Like, you're their ally, and that's the way it should be perceived, I feel like. And so, and that way, when you see, like, it used to be like when I was inexperienced, I never wanted to be a salesperson, right? I don't like the feeling when you walk into Nordstrom and they're like, can I help you with it? Like, I know that woman makes money when I buy the jeans or I buy the shoes and follows me around, and it makes me uncomfortable. I just don't like it. So that's me. I never want to do that to someone else. Like, as a matter of fact, when I showed houses, like, I just, like, open up the house and I, like, dude, I'm, like, famous for just, like, have fun. I remember, like, a dad was like, you're the best realtor ever. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you, like, open up the door and you, like, waited outside, and we felt so comfortable. I was like, to be quite honest, man, I just can't, I can't say something like, and this is the kitchen, when there's, like, a refrigerator and, like, a sink. Like, I just can't do it, right? Like, no shit, Joe, that's the kitchen. So, like, take them through. You want to understand what they're looking for. And when I was in experience, I just let the houses sell themselves, and I was super passive, right? And I realized what was happening was I was doing a disservice to my clients because I wasn't guiding them, right? And, like, after the houses, I would have, you need to have conversations like, hey, what did you guys think of that one? What did you like? What didn't you like? Cool. And this way, when they make an offer, like, I just did a deal in in Mission Viejo, I helped investors buy a condo, right? The house was listed for like 550, and they're like, well, what do we need to do, Joe? And I'm like, you need to be 585, you need to be cash. We're removing all contingencies, and we're closing in 10 days. There was 11 offers. We got the house. I had a really good buyer that followed my guidance, but they only followed my guidance because I took them through this process before. Like, they knew we went out 3 times, and it was the first offer we wrote. And I don't, like I said, I don't go out a lot. I'm not saying this for any reason. I just don't go out with buyers a lot, but it was an investor. It was a referral from an EXP partner in our group from LA. And they needed to do a 1031. I was like, yeah, I'll go. It's like, right. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And the people were super nice. And that was it, man. So they knew, they're like, Joe, what do we have to do? Like, they knew to follow my lead, and I knew what their buying power was. And I knew how I could leverage all of what they had to go and get this house. So understand your clients, understand how to get them ahead when it comes to a multiple offer situation, things like that. So tell them about the market. That's it. Know your numbers. We talk about the home loan pre-approval. Now, in this market, God, this is like every market. It's not just this market. I always say in this market. But if you don't know, there's a difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification. I'll buy a house if it's a good deal, you know, like I'm always pre-qualified, right? So what that means is my lender has, my bank, they have my 2 years tax returns, they have my W-2, they have my wife's W-2s, they have like all of our stuff, right? Our credit, they have everything on file so that if I need to make an offer, it's like ready to go, like I'm pre-qualified. That's the difference. And your clients need to know that there's a difference. They need to know that, like, if you just like went into like what's it called, Mortgage Rocket or Quicken Loans or whatever, if you just went to quickenloans.com and you got a Rocket mortgage, you literally could just write like whatever you write, you're going to spit back a pre-approval, right? So it's not very good. So in the script that we use constantly, some people will push back. They'll be like, well, you know, I'm not ready to send him. I'm not ready to run my credit. Well, then you're not a buyer, man. Like in this market, if you're not ready, like I want to buy, if there's a house that's a good deal, I want to buy it. So like whatever you need, like you need my social security number. What do you need? You need me to drive over there right now? Like these people are going to lend you $500,000. Like you should get them their stuff. And that's it, man. People should really know. I don't think they know the difference, you know? Oh, the script is this, is my job is to make you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, my job is to be your representative, your mouthpiece. My job is to make you look like the best buyer possible. The way that we do that is not being pre-approved. It's like actually letting the seller know like, hey, we are committed. All of our documents are into our lender. They just need to press a button and we can fund. That's what it looks like. Unless of course you have a cash buyer, which is awesome. Then we talk about buyer agency benefits. And this is the part where I'll say, we want people to sign a buyer agency agreement, right? That's no secret. So this is the part where we explain like, hey, if you're comfortable working with me and I'm comfortable working with you, like we're kind of interviewing each other. After this, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get your criteria. I'm gonna start sending you properties, a script. I'm gonna drop these scripts, right? Because these are like little nuggets that we use to get. Remember, man, they have to see the value. If it's a buyer that's not your like brother or sister that has to use you, or else like Thanksgiving is gonna be really awkward. You have to show value. A script that we'll use is I'll say something like, hey, are you only interested in houses that are on the MLS, or would you be interested in like an off-market property or a coming soon? What do you think people say?
Interested.
Of course.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Say the word foreclosure because that starts like if you're on my team, you know that I do say it sometimes, and I'm getting away from it because people are like, well, what's a I need to get a foreclosure, and I'm like, I don't know why that comes out of my mouth. Don't say foreclosure because there are none, and you can't get. It's not how it works. But like, and get them and say, hey, cool, because once this is over, I'm going to take all your criteria and let them know this is managing expectations, foreshadowing, or whatever. Once this thing's over, I'm going to put together a one-page buyer agreement that's issued by the New Jersey Association of Realtors, the California Association of Realtors, the National Association of Realtors, whatever. And then I'm going to have you sign off on that, agreeing that we are working together. I'm allowed to send you properties and I can take you to properties to show them to you. Sound good? Cool. Awesome. And I let them know that 100% of our buyers choose buyer agency. What that means is I'm committed to you. That means if you need me that day, you got me. Okay. If I'm not, we have a real estate team, right? So I'm like, if we're not available, one of my colleagues is going to be available. We're going to make sure that you're taken care of. We work as a team, and your client is the number one most important thing. And I let them know that brings a sense of urgency, right? Like if you, especially in this market, like you guys know, if something hits the market, like Sam Marks, what did you say? What was that one thing you said? You're like, dude, if you don't go see it within 24 hours, you're like missing, or if you don't see it within 12 hours, you're probably not getting in.
Yeah, probably not getting in the door.
Tell buyers that, man. Be like, you know what? Like when a buyer's like, oh, I really, in this market, do you anybody have a buyer who's like, oh, I saw this house, it's awesome. What's today, Thursday? Oh, I saw this house.
We're coming Sunday.
Can I go see it on Sunday? What do you guys say? How does that make you feel?
We should really see it sooner if you want to have a chance of buying it.
Yeah. And then
You just got, you got to just tell them no.
Yeah.
Or unlikely. It's unlikely that it'll be available. You're just, it's going to go before then.
do you think that like, if I want something and I
Can't
want
get the Black Friday sale on Sunday.
Yeah, man. If you, again, that's another thing that's an expectation that has to be managed, especially, again, if you're at the Jersey Shore, it's summertime, dude. People are like, dude, it's brutal, right? People are like going to Belmar and they're like, they see a sign and they're like, oh, and then they click their phone. They're like, yeah, I'm here till I got dinner at the Columns at 5. I'm going over to Paul's. I can meet you there. That's kind of what happens, right? You gotta like, and that's the thing, you gotta go. Or someone like, yeah, well, I can go next week. You have to like, I have found on the phone when you tell people like, if you wait till Sunday, the thing's gonna blow up. They're gonna think you don't know what you're doing, and they're never gonna ever want to work with you, right? Yeah, and I just let them know, like, hey, I'm only working with buyers. I'm working with you, whatever. I always found like I wouldn't want to work with someone that's like doing the paperwork and listing houses and like, hey man, I let them know that I'm fully concentrated on them. You have a knowledge of the current market. MLS. So like in caveman days, which was like 5 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe, we used to talk about the MLS because that's the database where we would keep our inventory, and the realtors had like the keys to the kingdom. Like you had to come, like we had the velvet rope, like, all right, I guess I'll show you the condos in Long Branch. That's not the way it works anymore. So this is where I kind of say, hey, you know what? We used to use the multiple listing system. Depending on where you're at in the country, what MLS you use, what CRM you're using, the way people receive listings and platforms are different. So just ask people, be like, hey man, how are you guys looking for houses right now? If they're probably gonna say Zillow or Redfin or Trulia or Realtor.com. And most likely, if they have that app on their phone and that's how they're searching for houses, that's how they're going to continue to search for houses. Does that make sense? Like it kind of, on one hand, like old school realtors are like, they want control and they're like, wait, but I'm going to send you like people don't want more junk mail, by the way. They don't want more emails in there. Like the second you're like, oh, I'm going to set you. Do you know how it makes people feel, by the way, when you're like, oh, I'm going to set you up on an automated search? If you say that to me, I want to run so far away, right? So if someone's like, yeah, dude, we were looking on Zillow, cool, man, you have your criteria. What is that? I'll set a criteria on my end as well. If anything, set yourself up a search. And that way you can be like, hey, did you see the one that came on the market? If you want a condo, like I know Jill has a very specific buyer right now. If you're looking for a condo that has views of the ocean and has a pool and is within 20-mile radius of Point Pleasant, if something pops up in Harbor Head, you probably should know about it and maybe ping them. They might not get it. So if anything, I'm looking on Zillow, ask them what their criteria is in Zillow, maybe set yourself up something. Ask them, would you like me to set you up a search on MLS? You might get it a little bit before me. Now, if you're working on a really awesome CRM, in EXP, we use KB Core. If you're working on a really great CRM that has a really awesome platform, you can just invite them a link to join that. That's ideal. That way, if you have a forward-facing CRM, you can see what they're looking for. But it's up to them, man. It's like, dude, like if I bank with Chase and that's when I'm on my phone and you're trying to switch me to another bank, it's probably not happening. Like I'm not going to go, like, it's just hard to switch that kind of stuff. Then we take people through, there's two tricky parts of showing houses I always found. It's one's for sale by owners and the other one is new home builders, right? So this is where I talk about it. I'm like, hey guys, for sale by owners. I'm doing a lot of talking right now because I'm doing a training and I'm trying to give you guys as much as I can. Your buyer consultation should be the exact opposite. You should be asking questions and shutting up. Like you should be listening more than you're talking, right? Here's what you just be like, what do you guys know? What do you guys know about for sale by owners? That's all you gotta say, man. Like, what do you guys know about the MLS? Any of these things, man, just ask, what do you guys know about this? For sale by owners. Well, they're gonna have questions, man. They wanna know. And so like, this is where we tell them like, hey, you know what? A for sale by owner is a for sale by owner for a reason. They're definitely like a different breed of person. Usually they feel like they can do it better on their own, on average, the for sale by owner could be a good deal. For sale by owners usually wind up selling for a little bit less than they would if they listed with a realtor. Like 8% less is actually the number through the National Association of Realtors. The good news is if you see a for sale, what we want to do is we don't want them calling the sit for sale by owner direct and us like losing the client. And again, this isn't like, we don't want to lose the client, but really it doesn't cost the buyer anything for us to represent them because we all know that sellers pay the commission in our real estate market, right? So if you're a buyer or a first time, especially if you're a first time home buyer, do you want representation from a professional or do you not want representation? Think about going into court and like not representing yourself if you're getting a divorce. Like that just sounds silly, right? So I tell them like, hey, if you see it for sale by owner, 99% of the time they're willing to work with if you're with a realtor. And by the way, I as a realtor will create the buffer in between the buyer and the seller. What that means is any negotiations, there's a lot of emotions, and let them know emotions are running high between a buyer and a seller. I can stay in the middle. I can help you with the appraisal. I can help you with the home inspection. I can help you with the CO. I can help you with the township. I can help you with anything. If you want to put a pool in, you need to go to town and find out. We can help you with all those things. And by the way, and this is another script. I say, hey, you know what, Mr. Buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you guys do not pay me to represent you. Did you know that? I asked them that, and they're like, oh no, I didn't. They don't even think about it, right? By the way, I'm free. I'm free right now. I'm gonna represent you. The seller's gonna pay me. In 8 years from now, when you guys are like real estate moguls and you guys are gonna go buy like 5 more houses and you need to sell this one, you're gonna have to pay me. But until then, you don't have to pay me. So what normally happens, and so if it doesn't cost you anything, you'd probably like to have representation, right? Yes. Well, the only way that we can ensure that is if you see a for sale by owner, jot down the address, jot down the phone number, just text it to me. I'll call them directly, confirm that they're willing to work with a broker, and I'll set up the appointment. Usually they're pretty psyched, right? Again, these are all, I'm a big fan of playing offense, not defense, dude. I do not want to be on my heels, man. Like I do not want to be on my heels. And by having all these conversations up front, it just stops you from like getting these wild, the wild phone calls you get from your buyer that's out in the wild. Like this stops that stuff, right? Like, I don't know about you guys. I've been selling real estate for a long time, man. Like when you get the phone calls, like we found a house and you're like, what? How? Where? Not with me, you didn't. They're like, oh, well, we bought a new, like I had a person buy a new construction house and they're like, we got, like they were all signs, like as if I was involved. They're like, dude, they said that, like, don't you get a commission on that? And I was like, no, I don't. And I had shown them houses forever. And by the way, if you help someone buy a new construction, the rebuttal is like, well, you don't do anything, or you just sign them in and you get paid a commission. That must be nice or whatever. I got news for you. If they got to the new construction, like you probably showed them a bunch of houses, you probably consulted with them, and through your consultation, that's what got them to the decision that they wanted to buy a new house, right? So you are a huge part of this process. And I let them know, I say, hey guys, you know what? If you guys will see a new construction, if you see anything like that, I can help you. One thing I would recommend, the most important thing about this is do not approach the new builder alone, okay? And tell them about the process. Say like, when you go and look at a new construction property, what's gonna happen is the first thing they're gonna do is ask you to sign in. And as soon as you sign in, you cannot be represented. If I sign you in, I can represent you. Then if there's any, I can help you through all the inspections. If there's anything to negotiate. Now, in the market we're in, it's really hard to negotiate prices on new builds. It usually is what it is. Actually, I think like majority of the time it is what it is. When the market was a little bit more soft, I could and you get to know, Jill, we were talking about this, right, this week, like you get to know the new builders. Like if there's dude, 100 years ago when I got my real estate license, there's tons of new builds in Monmouth County, and I knew all of them. And I like went to go visit all of the salespeople, and I got to know them. And it also got to the point where I knew the salespeople so well that like I could just like phone in my sign-ins, you know, because we got in a relationship, and I sold a couple new constructions, and I was able to negotiate like granite countertops versus Formica. Like I knew, you know, I might be able to help them get like half a point off their mortgage if they used their mortgage lender. Like I knew some ins and outs. It's tougher in this market.
Joe,
Yes.
Can I add something on that? So I wanted to like scream that from the beginning, like get in a relationship with the new home builder salespeople. Janelle, my wife, actually cooked bundt cakes, and we put them in little boxes, and I took them to all the new home construction salespeople one day, and I toured their homes like once a month when they were super hot and they were building like crazy. And then when I screwed up and my buyers went and signed in without me, I'd call and be like, Sarah, Tim and Susie Smith are actually my clients. Is there any way you can put me on? And she's like, of course, Jeff, I love you. I'd love to work with you. And like, they'll make exceptions if they love you. And it saved my ass a couple times because I developed relationships with them already. So I just wanted to reinforce that. It's a good thing.
Have you ever, you sold a lot of new construction, right?
Yeah.
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 That's the thing, man. Like when yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Jeff. That's totally true. Earnest money deposit. I let them know, like, we don't take deposits anymore, right? Again, man, I'll date like back in the day, like we used to like, all right, write a check for $1,000. That's what we used to do. We used to take a check for $1,000. Used to have to take a copy of it, fax it all in, I swear to God. And I just let them know, like, hey man, we do not take deposits. We write the deal. Once your offer gets accepted, we come out of attorney review. Then that's when you're going to send a deposit to your attorney. This is also where I'll stop here and I'll kind of just I'll tell them what happens. Like, do you guys know what I want to get them prepped and ready to write an offer, right? So I'm like, dude, do you guys know what happens when you guys see a house that you love? I'm like, what? Well, then we got to write an offer. Like, I want to get the idea out there so they don't get like triggered, you know, so they don't get nervous. Like, that's it. And then these are all scripts that I use, right? I'll be like, hey, just so you guys know, when the time comes, we're going to write an offer. Okay. The offer that we're going to write is written on, it's an offer that's prepared by the New Jersey Association of Realtors. Okay. It's not specific to me. It's not specific to EXP, the Joe Oz Group. This is the same offer that you'd write if you were working with any realtor in the state of New Jersey. Okay. It's pretty much a boilerplate. What we're going to do is it's the same thing for everyone. So what we're going to do is we're just going to punch in like what we're going to offer, a closing date, how much our deposit is. That's kind of really it, you know? It's really, really simple. By the way, I call this paperwork. I never call it a contract, right? That's like a contract is like a dirty word in real estate. Do not say it, do not use it. Just be like, hey, we're gonna fill out this paperwork and we're gonna make an offer, okay? And I let them know, I'll be like, we do this all through .loop, we do this all through DocuSign, we do this all through blank, whatever you use. And then this way, when you're going through the process, they already know, man. They're like, oh, I remember when you said that we were gonna do an electronic signature and I was gonna sign, and that's it. So, you know, it's going to be super easy. We're going to go over the terms. When we see a house, we're going to be making an offer. Either at, you know, we're going to decide on how high over asking we want to go, how much money we're putting down as a deposit. When we'd like a closing date, I say, you know, closing dates are usually like, you know, 30 to 45 days, maybe 60 days is pretty standard. And then what will happen is we're going to write the offer. I'm going to send it over to you to sign off on electronically. And then I just submit everything to the other agent. All negotiations happen verbally. This is New Jersey or whatever. In California, it's different, but all of our negotiations happen verbally, back and forth. And then once we come to a meeting of the minds, a final number, the buyer's agent redrafts the paperwork, we put the new information on there, and then we have a fully. And then once the seller signs, then we have a fully executed agreement, fully executed paperwork, not contract, right? And then I say, cool. And at this point is when I mention, if we're in New Jersey, I mention an attorney. If we're in California, I talk about title and escrow, you know, and I want to recommend all those things, right? I want to say, hey, by the way, do you guys have a real estate attorney that you use? No, well, when they're like, well, no one has a real estate attorney they use unless you're like an investor. Like, no one's gonna be like, well, it's not true. It'd be like, and then we highly recommend using our real estate attorney. We say, hey, this is an attorney that only does real estate. By the way, if something goes wrong, something happens, I have direct access to them. It's in your best interest to work with these people. Trust me, if you've ever not, if like you let them like pick an attorney out of the phone book, your life is a nightmare. That's kind of it, man. And then I just walk them through the process of like, boom, now we've got a house. I go, cool. The party's not over yet. Like we still have to go through some things. Like there's contingencies that we have to go through. And I want to make sure that you are buying the house that you want to buy, right? Like I don't want you to, I don't want you to buy the wrong house. I want you to buy a great house. I want you to love it. If we do an inspection and you have the wrong house, let's go find another one. That's cool, man. You know? And so I say, hey guys, do you have a home inspector that you know? I actually don't say that. I'm like, yo guys, I have a great home inspector I'm gonna recommend to you. I'm gonna send you his information. What you're gonna do, you're gonna call this number, you're gonna set an appointment. I want them using our home inspector. Our home inspector is awesome. Again, I have them use our home inspector, not because like they're my friend or because we make money or anything like that, just because they're good, man, and they have bedside manner. And they will, if they should not be buying the house, our home inspector will be like, yo, this is not the house for you. Probably go get another one, you know? Or they'll be like, you know what, there's a lot of stuff, but it's all normal. Your house is 50 years old. You know what, we're gonna need a new hot water heater. You know what I mean? It's probably the third one they've had or whatever. Take them through that. So I say, hey, you know what, we're gonna do the home inspection. Once we come out of attorney review, you need to order your home inspection immediately. If you're selling a lot of houses and you know the market and you know your inspector might be like booked out 2 weeks. Like you might know that like once you get an offer accepted, you need to book the home inspection. Does that make sense? So that's like next level stuff, right? Like, so if you're doing a ton of deals, like I know like San Marcos will be like, yo, dude, this inspector's backed up. We're writing an offer, which probably should just get on their calendar so we don't miss our contingency periods. So then we say, hey man, your home inspection is gonna take you through the entire property, you know, depending on the size of the house and wherever it is, like it's probably anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. I would definitely have, again, if it's a massive house, it's probably gonna be more like 4 to 6 hours. With the basement stuff like that. I say, hey, you know what, Dave Inspection, I highly recommend you being there. Anyone, you know, we see all those jokes about like the dad at the home inspection, like invite all those people. Dude, if you think the dad at the home inspection is bad, what about the dad who like wasn't at the home inspection and just reads the report? That's a nightmare. So like anyone that they're going to like go back to and reference, anyone that they trust, that they want an opinion from, have that person at the home inspection. Like I'd rather blow up like you guys.
You have 2 hours to talk to them and talk them off a ledge or talk reality into them about the market while you're there face to face, as opposed to playing telephone with clients and their father-in-law over the phone. It's what I prefer them there too. Even if you know when they're rolling up, you're going to be rolling your eyes. Or like, oh my God, here we go. Like.
And then, yeah, and you don't have a choice.
The way that you can handle. Yeah, you're either dealing with that silently on the phone, not being able to direct with the person and like have a conversation with all three parties there, or you're playing telephone with them, or you can do it face to face in the house and explain what the market is and put it in context with everything, and then have your client hear their father-in-law acknowledge what you're saying and understand that you're the actual expert. Even though they're contractor, you're the expert on the market.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, it's missing a there was some stupid thing missing on a hot water heater once, like a drip something, a flux capacitor, if you will. And then like they're asking me, dude, the guys on the phone with me being like, Joe, well, this thing's missing a flux capacitor. Dude, I don't know what I'm like, but like when I called the home inspector, the home inspector was like, yeah, dude, it's like $3 at Ace Hardware. Why is this guy flipping out? I'm like, that's what Gil's talking about. Like that conversation could have happened right there, you know? Meanwhile, I'm freaking out and I'm like, what's a flux capacitor? I'm like, what's Home Depot? You know what I mean? And I sound like an idiot. I'm uncomfortable.
You can say to the home inspector, like, look, yeah, I see that it needs whatever. There's a crack in the foundation, but guess what? There's 4 other cash offers that actually waive the inspection, and we're lucky to be standing here. So that's the environment we're in. Like, I get it. You're right. But that's just a factor that you have to deal with in this house, and we're lucky to be standing here.
Right.
You don't have to buy the house. You can walk away, but somebody else will. So, like, it's not like you're going to go get a deal on this because Uncle Vinny found, something in the basement.
Yeah, those memes are so funny. Appraisal. We talk about appraisals, man. Like, there's really not. I mean, you let them know. Dude, this is me personally. I remember like closing costs. Know your closing costs. Know what closing costs are. Please know what a HUD statement is. Know how to read a HUD statement. Please, God, please. If you're on this call, I feel like you care about what you're doing and you want to be better. Like, just know this stuff. I remember my first realtor. She still sells real estate. I'm not gonna drop her name, but we were looking at houses, and I was looking for my first house. I was not a realtor, and I was like, well, what would closing costs be on this house? She's like, yeah, well, they're like closing costs. She said the word back to me. I'm like, yeah, no, I know. But what are the closing costs? She's like, it's closing costs. And I was like, yo, I know. I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, can you just tell me like the numbers and what they are? And she couldn't tell me. I remember it. It was shocking to me. I was young. I was like, oh my God, how do you not know this? It was frightening to me, actually, and it made me not want to buy a house with her. I didn't use her. I was like, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. No, like, this is a closing cost, an appraisal. Like, an appraisal is going to be $525 or $6, whatever it is, right? But let them know, like, you pay this up front. I want to tell my buyers what they're paying for up front. Like, do you have to pay for your attorney up front? Probably not. They're going to take it out of the closing, right? That'll be in like a closing cost at the table, right? But we are going to pay for home inspection up front. We are going to pay for an appraisal up front. Like, let them know what they're going to pay for up front. Let them know that like half their closing costs is prepaid taxes. Like, no one knows that stuff, right? Like, that, why are they so much? Well, dude, you live in New Jersey or California or wherever, and we pay a lot of money in property taxes. Half your closing cost is property taxes. So chill. Like, that's what it is. It's not because you're buying a house. Also, if you're working with a really good mortgage lender, that person will go over that stuff with them too. But say, hey, you know what? We're doing an appraisal. I always tell people are very nervous about overpaying for a house. I let them know that, I'm not going to get into like waiving appraisal and stuff because this is not that thing or whatever. But actually, you probably should talk about it actually in this part of the buyer consult, that like people are waiving appraisals. But I let them know that you're not going to overpay. Like, you'll know the value of the house. Right now in this market, if you're buying a house and you're putting 20% down, they're waiving appraisals, which is awesome because you don't have to because the market's just going up, right? And if you're putting 20% down, the lender feels like they're not really at risk, right? Which is probably a good sign for everybody. But yeah, this is where I would talk about waiving appraisals, the appraisal gaps, and all those things. Loan approval. I don't really talk much here. I kind of graze over. I'm like, you know what? I let them know that there's a loan contingency period, right? And I let them know that they have a certain amount of time they have to apply for them. Like, I let them know, like, dude, you ever have a buyer who like goes under contract and then like a few weeks go by and they like haven't spoken, you're like, oh, you have your mortgage commitment? They're like, no, what's that? And you're like, have you spoken to your mortgage lender in the last 3 weeks? They're like, no. And I'm like, oh my God. Holy crap. And that's on you, by the way. That's on you as a realtor because there's contingency periods. That, by the way, like I said, if I've done something well, I've done it wrong for sure a million times. So like, I've done that. I've been like, oh, because I'm like, I don't know, it's back when I thought I had leverage or whatever. I'm like, oh, and they probably weren't working with my mortgage lender. They're working with some, other mortgage lender. And yeah, that's it. So like, let them know, be like, there's a loan contingency. So this is the main point you're gonna get across right here is once you get out of attorney review, order your home inspection, apply for your mortgage, right? They probably already started a mortgage app, but now they can narrow things down and know their exact numbers because they actually have a property. Talk about settlement, wherever you are, whatever state you're in, you talk about like, there's table settlements in New Jersey. Everyone goes to the table. We do this is where I talk about the final walkthrough. I'd be like, hey, you know what? When we close, we're gonna have a closing date. I let people know, by the way, another awesome thing that expectation to manage is like, do we have a closing date? Sometimes it's not on that day. Things happen, right? Like the mover gets backed up, blah, blah, blah. So like, that's the target closing date. I let people know, like, this is the target. This is what we're targeting. It's kind of like if like all of us on this call were like, yo, let's all go to dinner. Cool. Let's aim for like next Friday. But like Mary can't make it on Friday. We do Saturday instead. Let them know that that's kind of how it works. We all try to make that date happen. Sometimes it doesn't work. And let them know. And by the way, when you're writing offers, do not write that shit on a Friday because it doesn't close. It goes over till Monday and nobody likes to close on a Monday. So try to make your closings on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? And then if it misses that day, you can close next business day. And the weekend doesn't really mess things up because your buyer will be really mad at you all weekend. You'll answer a lot of phone calls. Yeah, tell them what a walkthrough is. Be like, we're going to do a final walkthrough. Okay. We're going to have a closing same day. We're going to meet at the property either the night before or the morning of. We're going to do a walkthrough. The goal of the walkthrough is to make sure that the home is delivered in what we call broom swept condition. It's a very gray area. What that means is the house, all debris should be gone. All personal belongings should be gone, and the house should be in broom swept condition. What does that mean? Their crap needs to be out of there. It doesn't mean they're going to wash the windows. It doesn't mean they're going to scrub the floors. Now, I'm the kind of person where like, I want to be, I live by the golden rule, like treat other people how you want to be treated. So if I sell a house, I do hire a cleaning company. I do clean the windows. Like I want to hand it over. I do the where we hang the pictures, like everything gets spackled and cleaned. Like that's the way I do things. But let your people know, not everyone's like you're gonna get to like a house or someone just hands it over. It's like, it's not awesome, like they move the refrigerator, just like crust underneath it. You're like, that's the way it's gonna be. So let them know, man. Like, because again, that's another managing expectations. When you get to that walkthrough and everyone's having fun, they're like, there's holes in the wall. They're like, that could happen, And then let them know, like, if you really are upset about it, you battle it out at the closing table. We have a real estate team. The way we do things is there's just everyone does a different thing. So we kind of explain like what goes on, how we communicate. Yeah, say our goal is to get you the best. We want to find you a house at the best price, the least amount of hassles to you and your family and your desired time frame. Oh, referrals. This is so important, guys. This is super, super, super important. This is like the number one time to ask for referrals, right? You're not asking for a referral, right? You have to phrase it, I'm like, oh, by the way, who else do you know was looking to buy or sell a house? That sounds like shit, right? What you want to do is you want to be like, hey, listen, Mary, at this point, for going through this process, do you feel like I'm the right person to represent you in finding your home? Yeah, cool, awesome, cool. So I guess we'll move forward. We'll sign the buyer's agency agreement. I'll start sending you properties. We'll talk about what you're looking for, and I'll start searching for properties for you on and off market. Does that sound fair? Rad, cool. Well, going through this process, my goal is to just be the best possible resource for you, guide you through this process, and make this real estate thing really easy for you. Customer service is my number one priority, and I want you to be really happy. That sound good? Cool. If I make this really easy for you and you're really, really, really happy, would you share that information for your friends that are looking to buy or sell a house while you're looking? They're going to say yes. You're like, cool, awesome. Well, my goal is while you're looking for a house right now, while you're in this process, people might talk to you. You're going to talk about buying a house or selling a house, and people are going to talk to you about, their plans. And if I truly, truly, truly am making this real estate thing easy for you and you're having fun and we're hitting goal, would you mind passing along my information to those people and their information to me during the process? That'd be awesome. Cool. That would really mean a lot to you. Because you know what we learned? We do a lot of business. We do a lot of business with people from the internet. We do a lot of business with strangers. We do a lot of business with call-ins and things like that. But our number one person we want to work with is referrals. That's because the people that we're working with, we want to work with people that we like. And the people that we like are usually friends with other people that we would like as well. And that's kind of it. So I really like you, and I want to work with people like you. Is that fair? Awesome. Thank you so much. Cool. So, and then I just leave it at that, man. And then, because I don't know if you guys have ever bought or sold a house, but when people are buying and selling a house, they're extremely emotional. That's all they talk about to everyone, their neighbors, work, school, church, club, like how's the house search going? How's that? Dude, I cannot go to a barbecue without people talking about like houses, dude. I want to just like hide. Like I want to be invisible. Like I don't want to talk about houses right now, please. Fortunately for me, I'm in real estate. Everyone wants to talk to me about houses, but that's it. So remember, it's top of mind. That's your chance to get referrals. And during the process, when they're having fun and you're making the real estate thing easy for them and they're having wins, be like, cool, man. Oh, by the way, you know what I mentioned in our thing about how you're going to run across other people that have, who have you come across, ask that question. I can't tell you guys enough how many referrals you'll get while you're in the process. If you're making the real estate thing easy for them and they're having fun. Then it's like, what's next? Well, we complete the paperwork, discuss your wants and needs, get pre-qualified if we haven't already, start searching together. If you have a mortgage lender that you love, have them on the call. Don't do the mortgage process then and there because it's too much. Like, just be like, get them like, hey, this is Evan from Equity Prime Mortgage. Cool, awesome. I just wanted you to put a face to the name. This is our preferred mortgage lender. By the way, I'm gonna have him reach out to you guys. I actually have them schedule an appointment right there and then have the mortgage lender jump off. Does that make sense? That way they're working with our people. Cool. If you guys want a recording if you want this slide deck, by the way, that's the exact slide deck that we use for our Or buyer presentation. If you want to rip it off or steal it, go right ahead. I really don't care. Like, I don't think it's branded either, right? Like, yeah, you can just use this thing, man. It says EXP on it. So if you email admin@joeosgroup.com, that person will give this to you. And I want to just open up for Q&A for about 5 minutes. And I'm going to try to end this thing about 5 minutes early. That's it. I'm going to open it up.
I got one.
Go for it.
So when you're managing expectations, I've had it in the past, clients get like, I don't get excited when our offer gets accepted on either side, if I'm the buyer or the seller, because I know that the process is just starting there. Aren't you excited? And I feel like I'm bad at the script that says we're still in negotiations. Like, we don't have a deal until your loan is completely approved and we've removed all contingencies. Like, that's when we get excited and celebrate. You kind of touched on that, but I don't feel like I have a good script around managing that expectation. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. When they're like,
I use a football field and set their expectation that like the offer accepted is like when you like catch the kickoff. I'm like way out of my depth in football analogies here, but like I say like, yo, we're at, and I tell them through the process, I'm like, yo, we're at like the 10-yard line right now. And then we've got to go through all this other stuff. This whole process it just took, close to an hour to explain it, to like walk through it. So and it can take 60 days. If you're including the shopping period, it's like a year or more for some people. Like, you got to set their expectation where it's at. But that football analogy is like, hey, we're only at the 30-yard line. Like, we didn't get through inspections yet. And I like to also, in that thing, explain who has leverage to them too. Like, hey, there's nothing we can do about that. Like, we sent them a letter about home inspections. You communicate how it gets communicated so they don't get squirrely about it.
Mm-hmm.
And set their expectations that it's like, hey, it's all bundled up into one thing. But I communicate that it's a percentage thing, and it gives them a gauge of like, hey, we're not at the 50-yard line yet, even when they think they're done. Like, they're ready to spike the football, and you're like, hold on a minute.
I like that.
And Gil has a really, and Gil's like in our heads, like the thing that we're gonna do. I don't want to get. I have like 4 minutes. I got to bounce. But like, Gil has this thing in his head, like this shoots and ladders game that we're going to give to our clients, where it shows like where it can go wrong. And like,
yeah, like a literal board. And it's like, yo, they have leverage, and you went down the chute and you're like all the way back to the start again. We're hunting again. And then they have that to reference to, and you have a thing to touch. You have this in your head because you've done it 100 times.
Uh-huh.
They have never done it before, and they're not going to remember contingencies. They don't know that they can just deny home inspection stuff, or that if they show up and don't do whatever on closing day, that it's the buyer's problem, actually, not the sellers, or you know what I mean? Like all those little nuances that take deals and years to figure out. You can kind of that's a stretch goal, is to make a Candyland version of it.
What I say is this: is I go like I talk about real estate superstitions, and I go, guys, they're like, we bought a house. You guys just opened up escrow. You did not buy a house. I call that a real estate superstition. It's kind of like taking a lockbox off the house before it closes, or removing a sign. Those are all real estate superstitions. By the way, if you try and disagree with me, you're wrong. So I say, guys, I'd be like, guys, that's a real estate superstition, right? So like, don't go on Facebook and be like, I bought a house. Just be like, you had an offer accepted. We got a long way to go here. We got to do inspections. We got to do appraisals. We got some stuff to do. We're on the right track. But listen, let's just keep act like you've been here before. Like, I joke around with people. I'm like, dude, you ever like get backstage on accident? And if you freak out, they're gonna throw you out. Like, just act like you've been there before. That's kind of what I say. Also, we had a question in here about FSBOs. When dealing with a FSBO, what percentage do you ask for? Ask for 3%. And I'm very stern on that. I'd like 5% really. But like, the misconception is like realtors will be like, well, I'll do it for less because here's the deal. If you represent a FSBO, people who think that you should take less money for representing a FSBO have never represented a FSBO before, because they don't understand that now you not only have one client, you've got two. Now you're in the middle of a dual disclosed agency, whether you like it or not. And this guy, you're managing the whole thing, man. It's way more work than you think it is. I would much rather work with another realtor on the other end than a FSBO person. And by the way, a FSBO person is a person who doesn't like you. A FSBO person thinks they can do it better than you. A FSBO person is the kind of person who has like a valuable thing and like wants to sell it. And they think that like they think like putting it in front of their house on a table and having a yard sale is better than like putting it on eBay. That's a for sale by owner person. So that's like who you're dealing with. So I ask for 3%. I'll probably go to 2.5%. And that's kind of it. I'm gonna wrap this up, guys. I hope you guys got some value out of this. Our upcoming trainings, we have Jeff Gray next week. He's doing farming to 50 million with host Gray. After that, we have Amanda Cruz. She'll be doing social media engagement, and we will post our full schedule on social media as well. Thanks for joining us. I hope you guys got some value out of this.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Night.